back to another episode of Minding Our Business podcast. I'm Razzy Dee.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kadesha Nicholas. How you guys doing?
And we have a special guest today, Dr. Margaret Seide.
That was really good.
Dr. Margaret Seide. She is a board certified psychiatry and neurology. Am I correct? Yes. And in addition to that, she also has her own private practice. And another interesting fact about her, she is a part of the 2% of African American psychiatric doctors, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. Awesome. Today,
So I was in private practice, and like a lot of people, my world was turned upside down in March. And so now I work from home. And I think it's just important to let people know that people are still offering the service of therapy and psychiatry, prescribing, addiction support, eating disorder support, virtually.
And how long have you been practicing?
I'm sorry.
I have been a psychiatrist since 2007.
Okay. I think I had to ask because I think it's going to go well with the conversation to see, I want to see if there's been any change or uptick in certain cases you've seen since 2007 up until now as it relates to, or could possibly relate to social media. So that might be interesting. I have a few questions about that. So when we get there.
So why don't you introduce the topic then, Dr. Kadesha? Go ahead and introduce the topic.
So today we are talking about social media detoxing. Such a very important topic given the time that we're in now, where a lot of people are at home, especially over the past few months, and their focus has primarily been on social media, utilizing social media for every aspect of their world at this point. And so it was very important for us to bring this conversation to you so we can discuss how important it is to detox from social media and how beneficial that detox could be for us, even if it's a day, 2 days, a week, a month, however long it is, but just being able to detach from that false reality, as I like to call it, what that could do for us psychologically. So it's awesome that Dr. Margaret is here to give her professional insight on this wonderful topic today.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me. I'm really glad to participate in this.
We'd love to, we're honored to have you, actually, very honored to have you.
So my question to you, Dr. Margaret, is how does social media affect our mental health?
So it's probably important to start off with saying that a lot of how social media affects our mental health, we don't fully understand. Social media is relatively new, and even if it's been around for more than 10 years, I think it's really been maybe the past 5 years where we have been totally immersed in it. And where I think the statistic is that 97% of Americans have access to a computer, and about 87% of those individuals are involved in social media. So I think those numbers are relatively new, where it's like in the air, it's everywhere. There isn't anyone who doesn't have some sort of social media connection. So what that does, the real answer is we don't know. Because in science, we okay, well, what happened? What are the changes we're observing? What happens 5 years later? And we just don't know the answers to those things. I think the novel coronavirus is an example of the tomfoolery and the confusion and mayhem that ensues when science bumps up against something where it's just oh, we haven't really seen this before. So I don't really think there's been anything like our submersion in social media until recent years. And I don't think we're fully going to understand the ramifications for years to come. But I will say, that it is a source of validation, a source of camaraderie, connection, even if it may or may not be a real connection. And those things are important, and they're even more important than you probably know, because when we look at or think about our leg, the way it was designed for walking and running, if you happen to have a functioning or typically functioning leg, and you can see the bending, the muscles, where it's like, okay, this was perfectly designed to do this thing. And our personalities were designed for survival also. And we are tribal. There, for most of history, we needed each other. We needed to be in our clan, in our group, for safety, for food, and we couldn't just wander off and be alone. So we are really built emotionally, psychologically to be with each other and to interact with each other. So things like the need for validation, hugs, love, shame, anger, jealousy, those are all programmed things that are part of our interaction with each other that keep the group together. And nature has a way of making us feel like we need something when it is important for our survival. And sex is probably the best example, that it is important for survival of the species, and there may be times when it feels like you need it, although that may or may not be debatable. So we need each other, and validation and what we get from social media is my point is it reaches deep into our brain. Because anything that has to do with survival is absolutely essential and crucial, probably going to be releasing dopamine, oxytocin, and these are the chemicals that are connected with addiction. And so what we're seeing so far is with younger people. I don't think it doesn't affect older people, because like I said, the vast majority, all age groups are plugged in. But younger people are the ones that their brain is still forming, their personality, their worldview is still being shaped, and it is being shaped by their surrounding. The world is a mirror for them because they don't have a fully developed self. And what we're seeing, what's happening to like the 12 to 14 age group is really disturbing. Suicide rate is skyrocketing. There are studies that are showing that there's an increase in poor body image, eating disordered behavior in the more a younger person is involved in social media. And when they are disconnected, if someone takes away their phone or they don't have that connection for a while, there's a great amount of anxiety and distress, almost like a withdrawal type picture. But I use that word loosely because, again, there's so much we don't know. But it's almost like I need it. I feel so good when I get it. I take it away and I feel great distress.
Do you think that has to do with the need of validation?
Yeah, validation is important for survival. Yeah. Again, we probably see that most with younger people and with babies. We know there have been examples of babies in orphanages or who are neglected, who literally, even if they're getting the food and water and nutrition and caloric need, their needs met, if they are not touched enough, if they are not hugged enough, if they are not getting eye contact with another human being enough, their brains do not develop properly, and they could literally just die when there's no other observable cause of death. Now, I wouldn't say that of older human beings who are fully formed, but we do see, especially now, everyone's talking about touch starvation and skin hunger, that people who are socially isolated don't live as long. They have blood pressure issues, anxiety, irritability. All of those things are real. So validation is literally important for our development, for our well-being and our health. And so validation's crucial. And that's not a bad thing necessarily. It's not bad to need validation and attention. It's just a matter of what are you willing to do to get it and how much of it, because there's one thing when it's like, oh, my 3 siblings, my 10 neighbors love me and hug me. But what does it mean when 1,000 people are watching or 10,000 people are watching? Again, nobody fully understands the answers to those as yet.
So you touched a bit on a bit like the correlation between the suicide rates we've seen in young adults as it relates to social media, or the validation that's required from social media. And have you seen that change significantly over the past 10 years? Like, has that number jumped significantly over the past 10 years, or is it pretty much?
So I just want to say there is this significant spike in the suicide rate among that age group, 12 to 14, but I am not ready. I think it's associated, but I'm not ready to draw direct causality. Again, we're still putting the pieces of this together. And so, yes, there has been a significant spike. Suicidality in all age groups have been on the rise sharply since 2000. And then since 2010, there's been a significant rise in that age group. And there is believed to be a connection to access to social media.
Social media.
Can that be with like when you talk about the suicide rate with the younger adults, like with cyberbullying and everything that's associated with social media, the internet and all that?
Yeah, I'm sure that it is. Because again, okay, so some of us, bullying is always terrible, but some of us are familiar with how awful it is to be bullied by 1 people or 4 people, or not have a friend group to sit with in the cafeteria. But the consequences of being bullied by 100 people
On social media,
or a picture of you in a compromised position, or a body part of yours exposed, and it is spread around, that's soul crushing.
Of course.
Not even fully understood, but we could just fathom. And we need each other to survive and to be well, like we need air and water. And so those interactions, whether it's rejection or everybody loves me because they're approving of my outfit and I'm getting likes and this went well, that really touches a really deep part of us. And again, that's not wrong. That's how we're wired, and it keeps us together and it keeps us tribal. It's just that who knows what all of those components are like when they're mixed together with social media, which of course nature never saw coming.
Yeah. I'm interested to know if any of you saw the Netflix show, or I guess the documentary called Social Dilemma, where some of the, I guess, the creators of certain social media platforms came together and spoke about their idea of what their platforms would be, and how it evolved into something more psychological than anything else, and the art, and how the art of persuasion, and in having psychologists come in and talk about how to persuade people to buy into your product or buy into your app and use it on like a day-to-day basis. It went from something that was just, oh, let's connect people, to how can we change the mindset of these people to use our product more and continue to run ads and do all of this stuff. And now I'm like kind of like a conspiracy theorist, because I'm like, how did we get to this point where the initial thought was to connect people, to get people to want to reach out to family members and connect with long lost friends, to bringing in psychologists to essentially just, I guess, make more money, like to change the outlook, to change everyone's outlook on their platform so that they can be more engaged and more involved in their particular platforms. And it was very interesting to see. Do you have any thoughts on that documentary? If you saw it, Dr. Margaret, do you have any insight on that?
I saw it and I thought it was really interesting. I mean, the use of psychology in marketing is not really new. When they're trying to sell a product, they'll choose a woman that looks a certain way, or they'll choose like a brawny man that looks a certain way, or you'll see commercials that look a certain way during a football game and look a different way during a Lifetime movie. So this really isn't new. But when we're watching a television commercial or we're looking at an ad in a magazine, it isn't interactive. It's still designed to push certain buttons. There might be an adorable baby or a puppy or bright colors or something like that. But it isn't like manipulatable by me, and they're not actively manipulating me based on what they know about me. They might know, well, she bought this glamour magazine, so she's probably female and probably this demographic. But we're like plugging in over and over again, liking certain things, commenting certain things, posting certain things. Literally, the program is learning us and learning who we are, so that things are so specific and so tailored that they're really like pinpoint laser pushing our buttons. And again, it was really, I've always had that thought, but it was really interesting to have it laid out there. That this isn't like a benign thing that you're looking at and scrolling and you're either liking or laughing or disliking something. This thing is like latching on to your psyche and tugging.
Yeah, I was a little disturbed only because a lot of the creators said like they wouldn't have their children use those platforms. Like they like absolutely denounced the platforms, and they're like, my child is probably not going to have access to this until they're maybe like 16 or 17 years old. And the fact that they created this platform, knew what they were doing, and put it out there for everyone to see, but they won't let their own children utilize the same platforms. It just did not sit right with me. And I really had to like think, now we know how important it is to detox from these programs if the creators themselves are like, I don't even use it. My kids don't even use it. No one in my house uses it. It's just like, why? Like, so why are we using it?
The ones that know how potentially toxic.
Yeah.
The ones who fully, understand the algorithm and how it is designed to just bring you back. And bringing you back brings them money, brings them more eyes, and they can bring you back because you're furious, because you love something, because you're jealous of something, because you're angry, because you want to watch, what your ex-partner is doing. But still, they'll bring you back. And they clearly do not care how.
Oh my God. Just, it's disturbing. It's very disturbing.
It's almost manipulative, like, yeah. So how can we reduce the harm that social media causes on our mental health? But because I know that it's not all bad, we do have some benefits from it, right? But I guess it's more of moderation. But what do you think that would be the, how do we reduce the harm that it actually causes on our mental health?
So I should say in general, taking care of your mental health away from your screen is a good idea, so that when you approach a difficult topic or a difficult situation or something on social media, you have that buffer. So getting good sleep, eating in a balanced way, exercise, social, however much or however safely you can during coronavirus, a self-care practice, whether it's involving massages or bubble baths or meditating or whatever it is, just feeding yourself and feeding your soul in that way. And then when you approach social media, you're better, stronger, more fortified, more in touch with yourself. So hopefully it isn't as toxic. It doesn't penetrate as much. But if I were to say, like, how within social media do you navigate and do your best, the truest answer is who knows? Because if something is new, probably less is better. Probably 2 hours a day is better than 10 hours a day. And probably if you're looking at something or reading something and you find yourself getting furious and you're posting angry things and you're going back and forth with some other person that you don't even know, and you're arguing and calling each other names, probably it's time to disengage, and maybe disengage for the whole day. But you're right, there are plenty of positive things on social media. So how much is okay? And even if you're trying to be super, super careful and only go to positive, affirming, educational things, who knows what they're slipping in anyway.
Yeah, that's true too. That's true too. Yeah.
And how strategically can you move on social media to make sure that you never see anything that isn't good for your mental health?
Right. Yeah, because it's so easy to see a post and like get stuck in the comments, and then now you're reading everyone's comments, and half of the time the comments are negative, and then you feel like you have to respond to John 361 because, you know, like, how dare he say such a thing to your favorite celebrity? Right. And I got to the point with my social media pages, they're very specific. So like on Lily's Closet, which is like my design page, I probably have a little bit more celebrities on that page. My personal page, do not follow any celebrities. I do not follow any of like the gossip pages or anything. Mostly medical professionals, things like that. Black business pages. And my health page, it's all like public health issues, CDC, Department of Public Health, like all these different things that I'm like focused on. But I have to kind of do that because you can easily get caught up in the mix, especially with the Shade Room. The Shade Room is like the page where you scroll through and you see something and you get through the comments, and it's a whole hour later and you're still scrolling through comments, getting angry at other people's responses. And it's really just not healthy at all. So I try to, one advice I would say to or give to someone is that I would just be specific about the people, or intentional about the people that you want to follow. Make sure that they align with what you see best or see fit for your life. Like if you are someone who has a lot of anxiety, like myself, I tend to follow pages that offer like meditation tips and different types of like breathing exercises or things like that to do in a day. Because if I'm going to get on social media, I know I'm going to be anxious immediately. So at least the first page that pops up in my timeline is probably going to be something that reminds me to take a breath, calm, close this app, go read a book and relax. Like that's probably what it's going to be. So I would advise people to just be intentional about the pages that you follow and limit the amount of time that you do spend on social media, because you can get carried away. Like, and 1 hour will turn into 10 hours, and that's not healthy for us.
It's kind of disturbing also, because I know it's funny that you mentioned that, because I know I've done it in the past many times. The first thing I do is wake up in the morning and I'm on social media, and that normally sets the tone for your entire day, so maybe that might not be the best thing. Being on your phone the first thing you're waking up, try to do something else before, you even.
And we've all done it.
Pace yourself. I know we've all done it. Yeah. Pace yourself,
I would say trying to protect like the first hour of the morning, the last hour of your day. And if you are doing something, just do the thing. Yeah. If you are eating, just eat. If you're walking your dog, if you're using the bathroom, if like whatever it is you're doing, try and be present. Because that's another thing where it's like we're doing something with our right hand, and in our left hand is the phone. And I don't think that is great, to never really be present and in the moment for whatever it is you're doing, to just enjoy your sandwich or enjoy your conversation. I also try to be mindful about who I follow and try to like avoid scandal. But I am a news junkie, and I try to, like every other person of color nowadays, stay plugged into what's going on civil rights wise. And even though that's not like maybe the scandal related thing, it's a distress of a different kind. That is what made me start to, because I used to be a rollover and like reach for the phone person also. But there was a time when every single morning there was a new video of a Black person being accosted and assailed and beaten and murdered. And to start my day like that was like too much. And I don't know where the line is, because I do think we need to stay informed. We need to, like, you know, be plugged in to participate, and, you know, it's a movement. And I don't think being like, this is uncomfortable, I'm staying away from it. But I don't know how much is too much. And there are times when I'm just like, I can't do another one of those videos today.
Yeah. Yeah. I think during that time, I took a 2-week break from social media, because I absorb everything, like, and I'm super emotional. I have very bad anxiety and I know these things about myself. I'm aware of them. And just like you, rolling over every morning, checking the phone, and that's the first thing you see on the phone. It just like set the tone for the rest of the day. Everything else was just going downhill. And I had, like, after like 2 or 3 days of doing that, I really had to just make it a point to say, okay, we're not going to look at social media for the next few weeks, because it's really taking a toll on me mentally. Like, I'm waking up hating everyone. Like, I want to fight everyone outside. Like, you know, like, just have a scowl on my face every single day. Like, I did not want to be like that. And it really took me just being aware of who I am, the type of person I am, and what I can take and what I cannot take, to make that decision. Like, okay, now is the time that I have to detach myself from social media and like we're saying, like, do a detox, because it really had a direct impact on my my personality, my, like, everything. Like, it just changed everything about me, which just wasn't good. So I think, like, if anyone else feels like that, it might just be time to take a step back, take a couple days away from social media, and just focus on you, like, you know, doing things that make you happy, getting, you know, your mental health back on track. And
regarding, especially, you know, people of color really feeling it, because that part we know. Again, we try to extrapolate in medicine and be like, we know this about that, and so let's see how it applies to this. And what we know about post-traumatic stress disorder is you can have post-traumatic stress disorder from a traumatic thing happening to you, but you can also develop post-traumatic stress disorder from observing it happen to another person. And you are more likely to develop it if you feel connected to that person in some way. So in other words, watching a stranger versus watching your brother. And when you are a person of color, I mean, not that you have to be, but if you are a person of color, there is this sense of connectedness that I think, where it's just like this extra, oh my gosh, you know, you're watching like through your fingers. And regarding changing your personality, I actually had an interesting conversation with someone I've known for a long time that was sort of like a sensitive, pretty compassionate person. And we were having the conversation about how, like, just rage filled you can get if you watch too many of those videos consistently. It just makes you feel like, oh my goodness, you know, what planet are we on?
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, yeah, but look at all the people of all colors, of ages, everyone just like turning up and finding that this is their issue too, and they're participating. And, you know, isn't that beautiful? Isn't like the rainbow when you look at the protest? And she was just like, they're doing it for the Instagram photos. Don't you know that? And I was like, oh, I hadn't thought of that. And now it's just like, every time I see it, I have to have that taint on it. It's so beautiful and so kumbaya. It's like, I try not to see it that way, and I'm definitely not there. I think that maybe some people are there for the photo op, but that's the world we live in. People will go to a park or order a certain thing or whatever for a photo op. That's just part of our world now, but I'm not ready to like say everyone out there is just there because they can post about it. I'm not there yet.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. There were definitely some people out there just for the Instagram pictures, and they did kind of expose a few of those people. So I know that's true, but I would say it was refreshing to see a lot of people band together and fight for a cause. And that did give me a bit of hope that things will get better, that we're moving in the right track, that we're not replaying the same scene from the 60s. And, you know, we're making we're taking a step in the right direction. But it took a while for me to feel like that. It really did take a while for me to really process it and see things that way, because for a long time, I want to say for a good month, I was just, especially living in South Florida too, I think I just hated everyone. Like anyone who wasn't a person of color, I was just like, I don't trust you. Everyone was getting a side eye. I didn't approve of anyone, and I had to stay inside because I'm not that person. But everything that was going on in the world made me that person.
Yeah.
So I was just like, I have to stay inside. I have to like decompress, process all of this first before I go out there, because I would hate to put that type of energy on someone who's really an ally. I didn't want to do that. But that's the impact that social media has, where it changes the personality completely of an individual. Like it's really crazy. And then after watching Social Dilemma, I'm just like it's just everything in moderation. Like you have to be mentally stable to kind of be able to navigate your way through everything that social media encompasses, because if not, you will be sucked in, and I feel like you can just be changed into a completely different person at the end of it, and that's not what we want. Like that's definitely not what we want at the end of the day. So
to piggyback on what you said, it's the truth. It's like it would, if you're not strong-willed or strong-minded, it would really like, because you know most of it is lies anyway, and a person can just post whatever it is their idea of a situation, and you know we'll comment and talk about it, and we'll take it at however it is that they may interpret it, and you know, and it just really changes our whole perspective of everything. You know, if you're not a person who knows what's right from wrong or the truth of it, you know, have your own mindset, yeah, it can manipulate you in a certain way to just change your whole outlook and stuff. Yeah, that's true.
I think there also has to become a certain amount of acceptance for that, because like it or not, this is part of our world, and that part of like technology and artificial intelligence, and they're just going to keep getting better and better at what they do. I mean, and the rate of like improvement, even though improvement may be a strange word, but improvement at what they do, getting your attention, getting you to buy something, getting you to come back, they're just going to get better and better at it. And so this is our reality. I know in the beginning you had called social media false reality, and I really see where you're coming from with that, but I also disagree, because this is just reality now. If you're used to walking or a horse and buggy and you say that car it's false transportation. No, this is how things are now. This is like what the world is now. You had mentioned in the beginning about what I have seen changed, and practicing psychiatry since 2007. I've actually been a doctor since 2004. And the things that I've seen changed are how well-informed patients are, that patients know that. And I think that has something to do with people, if you have a, whether it's eczema or cancer or a digestive condition, you can find your tribe, you can get information, you can get tips, you can get support. So before 2000 or before 2004, when maybe only a few people had a computer, the doctor was everything, and patients knew nothing. They'd be like, I take a red pill, I take a little purple one. They just didn't know anything.
They didn't.
And then their information, their knowledge expanded, and there was like, no, I want you to do this test, and I need, these lab results from my daughter. And that's a good thing, but I also got to see the way doctors, when they were not used to being challenged, and it was just like, I make the decisions here, and it's just like getting used to being collaborative for a lot of, especially the older doctors, was like so brand new. And also, again, like, reality is changing, because I vividly remember it was probably around 08 or 09, 2008 or 09, and there was this patient that they were like, oh, there's so much going on with her, and her behavior has been so bizarre. She's actually going online and meeting men. And I vividly remember them being like, what is wrong? Oh, wow, she's really coming apart. She's going online and meeting men. And now that is standard.
That's warm, right? I know.
So that's what I mean by, like, if you're like, it's false, I got to keep my distance, it's over there, I have to limit it. I mean, that's one approach, but I wonder to what extent you can really do that, because it really infiltrates. Like, you can't keep up with a modern conversation anymore if you're not on Instagram. They're going to be saying words and
that's exactly how it is now.
You're going to be like, what? You're not going to be plugged in. You're not going to know what your kids are talking about, or your neighbors, or you're going to be reading an article and you're going to be like, what do they mean by that? So it really is like, I don't know, as much as like moderation, but to what extent, even if you try your best, I really wonder about that.
Yeah, I mean, you bring up some good points. Like, we kind of have to accept that basically change is the only constant in life. You're either willing and ready to adapt, or you stick behind and, just fall apart, I guess. But that's a really good point. So now I have to kind of like change my outlook on this, because I guess I noticed it this weekend. I had family in town, and talking with the teenagers, I just didn't understand half of the lingo, or is it a dialect? I don't even know like what they're saying. Like, is it like a new dialect or something? Like, I couldn't keep up, and I was just like, wow, like, you're not even that much younger than me, and I just don't know, like, what language are you speaking? Like, what is happening here? So yes, I kind of see where I just kind of fell back a bit. But I don't know if I want to keep up with that. Like, I don't know if I want.
I don't know if you have. I don't know if you have an option, right? Sure. I mean, maybe, but I'm really not sure. Again, because it's just so pervasive. To get into work, because I also do some hospital-based work. And instead of them, like, the COVID precautions of your temperature and whatever questions they have for you, and now they're like, no, you have to download this app. And now you have to download this app. And they're literally like, for my current hospital-based job, there are like 3 apps that was mandatory for me to like. So as much as you try to like be peripheral, I'm just not sure.
Jesus. Yeah. Oh my God.
We definitely have some plus sides to it. I mean, as an entrepreneur, also, Kadesha, it helps also with our businesses as well. We'll reach far more clients than we would, when we didn't have any of that social media. So I can see the plus side of it also. I definitely see the plus side. And I guess, like you said, Dr. Margaret, it's more of how we use it, how we actually use it and spend our time on it. If we're actually like living on it, and just living on it and have no type of purpose, and we'll fall in that hole to where, it consumes our lives. But they definitely have a whole lot of plus with social media. I definitely see that, but it's all in moderation.
It is.
This is the generation now, because my kids, they don't know, this is what they know. they don't know the life that I had when I was growing up.
Right.
No,
Going outside to call
yeah,
my friends and come
exactly.
outside and play. Like,
Everybody's FaceTiming or what Skyping or Zoom. So yeah, it's definitely this is their time. This is the life now. You're right. This is the down. Yeah.
But I will say young people, and especially I think people who are different in any way, or marginalized people, people of color, are finding a certain like comfort in the fact that it's not only Vogue that has the final say on what is fashion, what is beautiful, what is. I see social media all the time, and I'm like everything from like my features and my nose, and I'm 5'10", and my hips, and I'm like, I wish somebody would have told me that I was okay, and that I could like rock a bikini with confidence, and like, because there was just none of that. There was like one single solitary standard of beauty. And I do think social media has been so instrumental in just like welcoming like all comers. And there's no such thing as like the standard of beauty anymore. And I think like even things that were considered imperfections, whether it's freckles or vitiligo or any sort of like atypical features, these things are embraced now. And I think social media has a lot to do with that.
yeah, I agree with that for sure.
Now, to wrap things up, I just want to ask you one final question, Dr. Margaret. For those who's watching and do want to detox, they feel like social media is consuming their life. What advice, once again, what advice would you give them to detox from social media?
I would say start with a day a week, like, because most people are on 7 days a week. So if you designate a day to just be present and to do what you're doing, whether if you're doing laundry, if you're watching a movie, if you're having conversations, be there, and be tuned in and see what it feels like to spend a day like that. How much, less anxiety, better rested, how much better your sleep is that night, how much more you get accomplished that day. See how it feels. And if you're like, wow, that was like, amazing, then do more.
Yeah.
I'm gonna definitely try that. I think I'm gonna social media detox. I'm actually gonna.
It's important.
Yeah.
It's very important. That's good advice. I think a lot of people need to do that. I think we all need to do that at least, like, once like one day a week, like cut it out, relax, be present, and enjoy your space, enjoy your company, enjoy everything else. Like, we kind of lose sight that we kind of forget that there's a whole, world out there that we can enjoy. Like, maybe schedule an outing or something like that. Go outdoors, take a hike. I don't know, but something that we're not so like in our phones the whole day. So I'm definitely going to start that. I'm going to do one day a week, no social media.
Yeah. Because when you decide to do something, it's not really an informed decision if you're on social media 7 days a week, because you don't know what it's like to step away from social media. And so should I, shouldn't I? You don't know, because you don't have anything to compare it to.
Right.
And so when you create, like, I know what it is like. I know what I feel like in the evening, in my heart, when I have spent 24 hours away from social media. And now I will decide how often I want to choose that, versus who knows what it's like to go without social media for a day. I've heard some people do it, but who knows? Yeah. And so when you do that, you can make an informed choice.
Yeah. That's a good tip. Awesome tip. I hope other people do it too.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys once again and joining us, Minding Our Business podcast. Thank you, Dr. Margaret.
Of course. Thank you for having
me. Would love to have you back for another topic.
Thank you.
Yay.
Thank you so much, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Margaret.
Bye. So nice meeting you.
Bye, everyone.
See you again soon.
Okay.
Yes.